Snapchat's Discover feature offers news outlets a way to reach younger audiences, but only for a group of about 20 top publishers, including NowThis. Editor Sarah Frank explains her team's strategy and offers tips for any newsroom experimenting with the platform.
We still approach it from, stories that matter, the news you need to know, but in a very high design, colorful, energetic, visual, all video, big, snappy, colorful headline. We can't assume that people are going to go Google and read an article. So you have to assume that you can really package it in a way that if this is the only thing that they will learn about this story, we only have this 10 seconds. How do we inform them enough, but not, jam too much information at them?
This approach was especially key when NowThis covered the Republican and Democratic national conventions. When news broke that Melania Trump's speech shared some of the same language as Michelle Obama's 2008 speech, NowThis had to determine the right approach for each platform, including Snapchat.
And on Snapchat, because we only have 10 seconds of vertical video, we had the Melania clip up top and the Michelle clip down below, and we picked one moment where they were literally saying the exact words, and we overlapped them so you heard their voices in unison. And that was a story that literally every major news publisher covered in their own tone and voice and way. And we actually covered it in 2 different ways, or maybe even more, on a variety of different platforms for what was appropriate.
Another piece of advice from NowThis: take advantage of all that a platform has to offer. For NowThis on Snapchat, that means using both Discover and Stories to push content. During the conventions, for example, NowThis used both methods to give followers a more complete look at what was happening.
We were covering the RNC and DNC. The team that was out in Cleveland and Philly was doing Snapchat stories where they would kind of say like, hey, I'm here and this is what we're doing today. And they would give you a little taste of what was going on. While Snapchat Discover team was here watching the conventions in real time, getting footage from the field teams and building the next day's edition.
This approach also allows NowThis to think critically about what their audience wants before posting.
Realistically, if someone's using Snapchat Discover to get their news and information, we're probably not going to be the first person to tell them that there was a shooting in Orlando or that there was a political convention last night. So you have to take a unique angle that shows an understanding of what your audience cares about.
However, Snapchat has some constraints that make it difficult for an outlet to connect with their target. For example, there's no way to follow a user's story without knowing their username or snap code. So, Frank says, sharing that information on other social media or through Discover helps.
We've occasionally experimented with throwing in our Snapchat stories name or a special email and asked people for, questions, comments, feedback, and gotten a pretty good response. And it's something that we kind of play around with every now and then. Weirdly enough, most people interact with us about our Snapchat Discover through our Twitter.
According to Frank, about 75% of the NowThis audience is under 35, and as much as 85% of that audience is consuming content on mobile. The NowThis team uses that information to make material that's more closely tailored to that specific user base.
We try to differentiate ourselves by knowing that we are news for young people, made by young people. So we're always going to think of it through that lens. We know that perhaps names or issues that would be in headlines for traditional media might not be appropriate on a platform that caters to young people. So we differentiate ourselves by trying to make that voice in our youth shine through without being naive.
In the future, Frank says NowThis plans to experiment with themed editions and interactivity within Snapchat. For the Futures Lab, this is Haley Godburn.